Hey there, welcome back. Tonight we are going to have a cozy little chat together about my D&D character. I am playing Dungeons and Dragons for the first time in my life at the age of almost 46. I am earning a new nerd merit badge by embarking on my first ever D&D campaign, and I just really want to tell you all about it because it's so cool and so exciting. And so this video is inspired by a GB ASMR video, actually a series of videos that she has done talking about her D&D character and her campaign, and just sort of brain dumping to you about it, to us about it. And those videos are so fun, and now that I've started playing, listening to her talk about her character and what her group is doing was really interesting for me. And so I just wanted to share this with you, and I thought it would be a great topic for just kind of a cozy ramble. Because if you are really into D&D, then listening to all the details and that sort of thing might be interesting to you and might help you unwind your mind. And if you're not really interested in D&D, then you can just kind of zone out and not really listen to what I'm talking about, and just let the sound and the cadence of my voice help you relax and fall asleep if you'd like. So this is kind of a talking you to sleep. Perhaps you could use it as that, or a spilling all of my interesting, hopefully, info to you about playing D&D for the first time. So I did bring a cup of tea if you would like to make a warm beverage to settle in with me. I don't know how tippity and tappity this actually is, but I'll have some tea. This is some nice herbal tea with rose and lavender in it. I'm still getting used to my desk here. I want to sit things down gently. So this is going to be mostly a rambling video, but I also did bring with me some D&D props. I actually have 2 sets of dice here in little pouches, and there's a story behind where I got these dice, which I will tell you. They were gifted to me. And so I'll do some intermittent sounds with them. We'll take them out of the bags. And then I have another little D&D prop here, which I will reveal, a dice-related prop. So yeah, so let's just get cozy and chat a little bit about this. I want to get my mic in a good position for us here. Like I said, still getting a little used to this new space, this new background of mine, but I'm really liking it. Thanks to all of you who gave me some feedback about it. And I did write a few notes in my notebook over here, just so I could remember, moving my tea there, remember the categories of things I wanted to talk to you about. Oop, I think I just bumped my camera there. There is a lot to talk about here. So I'm going to give you a little preview here. We'll talk about why and how I started playing D&D, the setting for the campaign that I'm playing in, my character, and some sub-characters that are related to her story, the other characters in the campaign that I'm playing in, and then a little bit about our current mission. We have really just gotten started, so I'll share a little bit about that with you. So maybe I'll rummage these dice a tiny little bit here in the beginning. So Justin and I, neither one of us had ever played D&D, although we have known a lot of people throughout our lives who have played. We've had a lot of like friends and friends of friends and friends of friends who have played, but we were just never really in the right, still adjusting here, we were never really in the right, maybe I'll do a little mic touching since I have my fuzzy cover on tonight, my fuzzy cover. And we had just never really had the opportunity to learn to play. And it always, to me, seemed like this really intimidating thing with lots and lots of rules, and that you really had to like make a big commitment to doing it, and that it always seemed a little bit too complex to really be fun, and it just always kind of seemed overwhelming. And also because I have a tendency to be a person who wants to always do things right, and I have a hard time with being a beginner and messing up sometimes, I was just always a little intimidated. And that's actually a side note that I will share right now before I forget, is that I actually wrote an essay about D&D and how playing D&D is helping me heal my perfectionism, how playing this game, which is very spontaneous and decision-based, and how you have to just sort of decide what you're doing in the moment and not think about it too much, has really helped me to let go of some of my perfectionism and be more spontaneous and in the moment, and not be so hard on myself about thinking I have to do everything in some perfectly correct way. And so that essay is on my Substack, and so I will put a link to that in the description. And the main reason I wanted to tell you about that essay first, if you are interested in my D&D journey, that might be interesting to you. And also, that is the first essay that I've published on Substack where I have used their voiceover feature, which is a feature where, as the author of a post on Substack, you can upload a recording of you reading that post. And so that's really exciting to me as a feature, because that's another way for me to use my voice, and another way to reach people through my written word is by also sharing it through my voice. And so if you want a little bit more of my voice, since you're here, and I assume you enjoy listening to my voice, if you would like a little kind of bonus thing of mine in another medium, you can go to Substack and listen to me read that essay. And if you enjoy that, feel free to sign up for my Substack so that you will get my new essays. I write a letter. I do it in the form of a letter to you, to my audience, and I try to do those every week. So if you sign up for it, you'll get that in your email. And I am going to start using that voiceover feature more often. So if you want to listen to my newsletter rather than read it, you will have that option. So anyway, that will be in the description. So check that out if you would like. So okay, now getting back to my D&D story. Justin and I had always, like I said, kind of been on the fringes of D&D in different situations, but neither of us had played. And you know how it always is when there's something you're interested in or something that you want to do, it keeps showing up in your life in different ways. And Justin and I felt like over the last year or so, we just kept having little hints of D&D showing up in our life. Like we would meet new friends and talk to them, and they'd be like, oh, we play D&D, or there was like a D&D thing going on at our library, just like different little hints of it in different places. Even those videos of GBs that I listened to, and I thought, oh, this is interesting. I feel like I'm saying more in this video than I usually do. And I'm not going to edit out those ums. I don't know if I'm feeling a little bit nervous. I shouldn't feel nervous. but please forgive my ums. I just noticed that, and I'm not sure why I'm doing it. This is going to be a very, very long rambly video. Very long rambly video, I think. So just, settle in, friends. Settle in. And so how we got playing is that we reconnected over the Christmas holidays with some old friends of Justin's. And this friend of Justin's, who I guess you would say they are his god brother, because their name is Garrett, and Garrett's parents are Justin's godparents, and Justin's parents are Garrett's godparents. And so they grew up together and spent a lot of time together when they were young. And then we've always kind of, been in touch off and on over the years, but they were living on the other side of the continent for a long time and now are back in the area. So we got to see Garrett and their partner Stevie at Christmas time this year. And in conversation with them, D&D came up because they both love to play D&D, and Garrett is a GM, a game master. And so we basically decided with them, hey, we should start playing. And they love introducing brand new players to the game. And they're both the type of people that are they're very kind, they're very good teachers naturally, and we knew it would be the kind of situation where it would be really fun to learn and it wouldn't be a lot of pressure, and they would be very patient with us. So we decided to do this. So in January, we started doing Zoom calls with both of them, where we started discussing what our campaign would be like and our characters and all of this. And as a GM, Garrett really sort of kind of comes from a framework of not teaching new people all of the rules right off the bat, because that obviously can be really complicated, but instead really focusing on the storytelling element of it and then teaching you the rules as you go along, as you need them. So Garrett kind of started out by asking us, okay, what kind of a world do you want to play in? What kind of things do you want to be doing? And what kind of a character do you want to portray? And then we'll make the rules of D&D fit around what it is that you want to do. And so I feel really lucky and really fortunate that we got to learn from someone with that kind of a framework, because that has made it really fun. Oh, I keep bumping my camera. It's because I now have my camera on a tripod out here and my legs are under my desk. And so hopefully we're still steady and good. This is going to be kind of a funny video, I guess. Very casual, very casual. And so we started having these conversations, and we started out with kind of characters and setting, as I said. And what I'll say about the setting, I won't get too deep into that, or this video could be like a 6-hour video, which, maybe we'll do sequels if you all are really into it. But the world that we're playing in is a world that Garrett created, and it's basically kind of like I guess it's like a continent, sort of, a large geographical place with different regions in it. And they have a few different campaigns that they are running that are happening in different parts of this world that they have created. So that's really cool. And ours has ended up kind of being a prequel of sorts to one of the other campaigns, because our campaign is happening in one of these areas, but it's happening in a time period prior to one of the other campaigns that they're running. So it's cool because we're there's nothing specific in place that we have to accomplish to get this happening, but it's sort of the history that they have established for this other campaign. We are now plopping down into that history and playing our game, doing our campaign from there. So that's really cool. So we have maps and we have all these different areas with cool names, and we're learning the lay of the land, and that part of it is really neat. So we are using D&D Beyond as a platform for creating our characters and for our play. So for those who are interested in that sort of detail, that is what we are using. And when I sat down to create my character, the first thing that I really needed to decide for myself was whether I wanted to play a character who was very much like me or a character who was very different than me, than my actual personality. And I felt like that was a big decision to make because I thought it would be fun to play a character who was quite different from me and kind of go into a different kind of persona and role. But then I also thought that might be tricky because if I was trying to kind of think about the mechanics of the gameplay and then also remember to maybe make a decision that isn't the decision that would intuitively come to me because this character is different than me, and I would have to think about like being true to character in the midst of the gameplay, I thought that might kind of be too complicated. So what I ended up doing was I made a chart with 2 columns and I wrote all these personal characteristics down one side, you know, all the things I would need to decide about my character. And then in one column, I filled in all those characteristics for a character that was very much like me. And then in the other column, I put sort of opposites or alternatives to those characteristics. So if I was creating a character that was sort of the opposite of me, and then I went through that and circled and picked out things that most appealed to me. And so I ended up with this character that kind of has my core values and, you know, some core personality traits that are true to Devan, but then has some physical characteristics and some parts of their personality and some parts of their skills and things like that that are kind of different from me. So that's kind of that was my process for coming up with what kind of character I wanted to play. Little tea break there. And so we didn't even decide ahead of time what class we would be. I didn't know anything about D&D classes or anything like that. We just developed the character first and then figured out what class that character would best fit into. And so my character ended up being a druid, which is not that surprising for me once I understood the classes because I am such a plant-based person, and I figured that my character would be very connected to the natural world and plants no matter what, and that class is a very nature-based kind of character to play. Put my tea down here for a moment, and maybe I'll pick up my dice here, and I'll get through my character, the basics of my character, and then we'll do a little more show and tell here with the dice. But I don't know why I keep looking down. I don't have anything written down except my character. So my character's name is Fernalee. She is a she and is a druid, as I said, and she comes from a place called the Croplands. She is a farmer. She comes from an agricultural society and community. She has grown up in a farming community, and she is kind of a tall, broad, strong, soft-spoken person. Not surprisingly, that part of it, when I speak as Fernalee when we're playing, I don't really have a different voice for her. Some of the characters, actually both of the other characters in our campaign, have specific voices that people do for their characters. I don't have a different accent or a different voice, but Justin always says that I go into a very, very soft ASMR voice for Fernalee, that I'm very, very relaxed and grounded as Fernalee. And she is a person who has always been a little bit shy. She's always felt like a little bit of an odd person out in her community. she's very, very connected to nature, whereas some of the other people in her community, they are connected to the land in an agricultural sense, in that they see the land as their means of a living, and so they steward the land in that way, but they're not really connected to the magical, spiritual elements of nature and of the land and of the plants and animals. And Fernalee has always felt a very intrinsic connection to the earth in a deeper way. She has always felt that plants and animals were communicating with her from the time she was young in ways that weren't always literal, but she always felt that they had messages for her and were speaking to her. And so that's something that she has always kind of kept a little bit inside herself and doesn't share with a lot of other people because it might be taken as a little strange or a little weird. And she's a very hard worker and does her part within her community to contribute and be part of their farming livelihood. And so where we come into the story with Fernalee for the purposes of the campaign is she is in her late 20s. She's still living kind of with her family unit in this community. It's a very kind of open community where everyone helps care for everyone else, and the family groups don't have super strong boundaries. The families all kind of take care of each other. And Fernalee is very involved with taking care of the children and the younger members of the community because she likes connecting with that kind of energy, that childlike energy. And as we come into the story, Fernalee is feeling a little bit restless. She's feeling like she doesn't really know what her purpose in life is. She has felt some magic stirring within her. She has felt some powers coming up in her. She has found that she has abilities that are unexpected and different than others in her community. And so I'll get a little bit, I guess, now into some of her connected characters. She has become good friends with the medicine woman in her community. And the medicine woman's name is allllll. All of the names in this are herbal and nature names that I came up with, of course. And so she's been working with allllll to sort of nurture this magic and this connection to the earth that she feels coming up within her. Allllll has given her training in herbalism and herbal medicine and how to use plants in ways that are helpful both medicinally to the body and to the spirit. You can see the connections here with me personally in this part of her character. And so that's part of what's been going on. There's another part of her story that she has an older brother named Aspen who left the community several years before to kind of go out into the world and make his way. And since he has been gone, she has received one letter from him a couple of years before our story starts. And so at that time, she knew that he was okay, but he didn't really give any details about what he was doing. And he was the one person that was always kind of close to Fernalee and understood her ways, understood her sort of idiosyncrasies and her ways that she was different. And so she misses him very much. So there's a part of her that would like to kind of go out into the world and see if she could find out where her brother is and what's going on with him. And then another element of her backstory is that the croplands where she lives have always had a balanced relationship, but a somewhat threatening relationship with these creatures called the Hungry Ones, which are like large armored caterpillars. They are a creature that feeds on plants and feeds on the crops. And so the people of the croplands have always been able to keep the hungry ones to the outskirts of their fields, and the hungry ones eat some of their crops on the outer perimeters, but they've always been able to keep them at bay, and there's always been a balance between them. And now, all of a sudden, the hungry ones have become hungrier. They have become hungrier, and they are infiltrating deeper into the croplands and beginning to threaten the livelihood of the people. So this is a concern for all of the people in the community, and some people in the community want to bring in harsh poisons from some of the cities that are in this world, and do more modern sort of aggressive tactics for trying to get rid of these pests. Fernalee very much wants to try to understand what is happening, what has gone out of balance in the environment that has caused them to suddenly take on this more aggressive stance, and what has caused this change in the hungry one's behavior. And so that's another one of the little conflicts in the backstory here. And so basically we come to a point in the story where Fernalee is sort of appointed, is asked by Ella Campaign, the medicine woman, to travel to a city that is some distance away. Fernalee has to travel by water on a barge for several days to get there. But she's traveling to a nearby city to seek out another medicine woman, a more powerful priestess who is a green warden of this city and who protects the green things in this world. And so Fernalee is seeking this person out, both to seek information about the hungry ones and what they might do to get this, to create more of a balance in the environment in their community, and then also for Fernalee to seek training from this person in order to develop more of her magical skills and to tap into her innate power and to learn more about her own purpose that she has in the world and how she can use her power to support her people and also to find her own destiny and her own calling. So I didn't write any notes for that. I think that's a pretty good summary of where we are. And the other character I wanted to mention who's connected to Fernalee is her best friend is an owl named Thane, and he is a barred owl. We have a lot of barred owls in our yard here, and I really wanted there to be a barred owl in my story. We see barred owls not all the time, but pretty frequently, and we were seeing them a bunch in our yard this winter, so I thought that was my sign to bring a barred owl into Fernalee's story. And so Thane is a barred owl that Fernalee has met when she goes out into the forest in the evenings at night to kind of meditate and commune with nature. She has sort of a secret herb garden that she grows in the forest that is different from the practical crops that they grow in the village. It's her own little medicine garden, and so when she goes to tend that, that is when she became acquainted with Thane. And at first she saw him just as an owl that she would see and was paying attention to, and eventually he approached her and spoke to her in human language, and they became friends and have quite a close relationship. And so one of the kind of cruxes of this story for Fernalee is that she's kind of like, okay, I'm a weirdo anyway, and I think I have a crush on an owl. So, that doesn't really help me be any more normal, does it? Like, my best friends are a medicine woman and an owl. Okay, And also one of her other best friends is a little girl in the village who she helps take care of. So she's kind of like, okay, my social circle is a little unusual. But she has this relationship with Thane, and he supports her in her magic and in supporting her powers, and is a very good friend to her. And a cool part of the story, I think, when you're creating a character, is there can be things that the other people in the campaign don't know about your character or their story, or there can be things that even you don't know about your story. So how I have set up Thane with Fernalee is that I don't know for sure what Thane is. I am leaving that up to Garrett as the game master and the storyteller to bring into the story later on. So I don't know if Thane is just an owl who has somehow gotten the ability to speak. I don't know if he is a person or some other creature who is enchanted as an owl. I don't know if he is a being who is an owl at night and is something else during the day, or is a different kind of creature or some combination. I don't know exactly what he is. And if you are a D&D person, I will tell you that Fernalee did not summon him. She doesn't yet have the spell. She doesn't yet have the familiar spell so that she can summon an animal companion, but we're kind of setting it up so that when I get to the next level, that then Thane will become my familiar, and Fernalee will be able to summon him when she wants to. We could have set that up from the beginning, that he was her familiar, because there was an option within my character specs that I could have had that spell, but I decided that I wanted the relationship between them to be more organic, that they just became friends, and we don't really know why Thane started speaking to her. We don't really know exactly what spurred that friendship. And then later on, they will develop this relationship that is more of a magical relationship where she can communicate with him and summon him and that sort of thing. Again, I only understand the very basics of all of this, but that's kind of how I understand how that will work later on. So Fernalee has told her family that she's going away on this mission, and she has gone and told Thane that she is going to go try to learn more about how to help her people and how to help her, how to tap into her own potential. And it's so much fun with these characters because I have to say that Garrett, our game master, they have a background in theater and in game design, and they are an amazing actor. And so every element of this, of course, as the GM, they play all the other characters who aren't the main characters who are the other people playing. And so every character has such a cool accent, such a cool voice. They've really put a lot of work into that. And the night that we were doing kind of my origin story play, we kind of did that where we had a little bit of time with each person, just with the GM and each person kind of developing their backstory, but for the other people to listen and watch and see what was happening there. And we had talked a lot about Thane, but we hadn't talked specifically about what Thane would sound like, or, you know, what Thane's voice was like. And so that night when we were playing, Garrett was like, "Devan, what do you think Thane sounds like?" And I was like, "Oh, okay, well, I think he definitely has a very deep, slow, calming voice, like you might imagine from an owl." And I was like, "And I think he has a Scottish accent." I said, "I think that's, like a Scottish accent or an Irish accent, something in that kind of category of voice, I think is how he would sound." And so without missing a beat, immediately Garrett is like, "Oh, Fernalee." And like from the second he said her name with this accent, I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's so perfect. That's exactly who Thane is supposed to be." So, as Fernalee was leaving and she was saying to Thane, "Oh, well, will I see you again?" And he says, "Who knows?" And, so he's definitely going to come back into the story, and it'll be fun to see how that develops. That was just, again, all this that I brought out of my mind, and that was what I got really deep into the story there. Could you tell that I was getting really deep into the story? And that is what's so cool about this is just all stuff that I made up out of my head. you know. I just, from that initial kind of list of character ideas, then I started thinking about, okay, who could this person be? And it just kind of came to me like, yes, she has an older sibling who's gone away, and she, you know, doesn't know what's happened to them, and she needs to have an animal friend. It's an owl, and this is like her, you know, the one person who understands her is this owl friend of hers, and it just all really came together in a very cool way. So that is mostly what I can think of right now to tell you about Fernalee. So to get into a little bit more of the mechanics, for those of you who are D&D people, like I said, she is a druid. And so once we had developed all of this backstory for her and all of this character development for her, then we sat down with a character sheet and actually came up with what all of her, you know, what her skills were going to be, what her, I don't even know all the right terms for it, but like what her levels of abilities are and that kind of stuff. And we determined, you know, based on the fact that she's a human, she is a human, based on the fact that she's a human and other different things about her backgrounds, what spells she's able to have. And, you know, I chose her cantrips, and then I have, as a druid, she has a lot of spells that she can choose from like each day, so that's a little bit overwhelming. So I've kind of started out with like a, you know, starter pack of spells that I'm working with to start out with. And we determined all of that logistical stuff that we needed to determine to actually play the game. And so then we started playing. Let's see what else. Okay, I talked about her sub-characters. Okay, so I'll tell you a little bit about the other two characters in the game, just a little bit. Justin is playing a character who is a bard, who is a fox person. And Justin had kind of a different character experience for me, character building experience, whereas I, like I said, you know, kind of wasn't sure. I kind of came up with some characteristics first and then built the backstory. Justin just had this brainstorm where a whole fully formed backstory for this character came to him, and he wrote it down, and it's like an amazing start of a fantasy novel. Like, I've told him I think he should write a whole fantasy story about this character. So his fox character person, whose name is Rikka, and so we have Fernalee, we have Rikka, the fox person, who, and her story is kind of that her village has been destroyed by another force that is kind of out of balance. And so Rikka is trying to find if there is anyone still living from her village. She has already come to the city and has been trying to make her way in the city as a street musician, even though there is some prejudice against fox people, because foxes are known as being tricksy and, you know, not being able to be trusted and that sort of thing. So she has made one really good friend who she plays music with, and they play at venues, and she's been able to get settled into the city. So we have Rikka. And then our third character, Stevie's character, is a tree person. I'm not even sure of the proper name for what they are, but they are a tree person. Like, imagine a tree beard from Lord of the Rings, but like not quite that giant type being. And they are a barbarian. And they are also on a mission because their home forest, which they are a part of and tend to, is being threatened by evil forces. And so they are also trying to figure out how to save their people and their forest. And so basically what has happened to get our story going is that all three of us, through a series of events, have come together in the city, and we have been, I found pretty quickly, I did some good rolls in that part pretty quickly. I found the priestess that I was seeking out, and the other two characters ended up coming into her orbit as well. And so she has made the three of us green wardens, assistants to the green warden, so that we have a little bit of like actual protection and clout in the city to go out and do some exploring and research some things and try to figure out what it is. What is this force? What is this enchantment that is happening that has affected the hungry ones and made them more aggressive, and that led to the destruction of Rika's village, and that has led to this destruction of the forest, and who's behind all of this and what's making it happen. And so that's kind of where we are now. As a threesome, we have now started to go out and seek out what we need to try to research and find out. And the very first thing that we have been doing is that there have been reports in the city of unnaturally large rats, yes, rodents of unusual size, sort of in that vein, that we think have been enchanted by the same force. That is what we are reckoning with, and so we have gone out to try to see if we can find one of these rats and see if we can bring it back to the Green Warden and see if we can find any clues about how that is connected to all of these different happenings. And so last week when we played, it was really fun. We were trying to get to a place where we could potentially find one of these rats. And first we tried to kind of like get down into the sewers through a legitimate way. We tried to use the fact that we have this credibility to do it. And we all rolled really poorly during that part and couldn't get in the legit way. So then we had to come back later at night and try a sneaky way, and our tree person ended up holding Justin's fox person character by their ankles and lowering her down so that she could pick a lock upside down and get us down into the sewers, and lots of other things happened too. And now, so when we pick back up this week, we will be venturing in to the sewers and seeing what happens down there. So I think that is most of what I want to tell you for now. I hope that all kind of made sense and worked together. So if you're interested in all of this, let me know, and maybe I'll keep you posted as we move forward in our story and let you know what happens, let you know if I ever find my long-lost brother, and let you know if I, ever live happily ever after with my owl friend, or what happens. So let me know if you're interested in that. We really are just getting started, like I said, so this will be an ongoing saga, and we had just started, and then we took a month off while I was visiting my parents while I was down there helping out my mom and dad because they don't have strong enough internet for Justin and I to both be online on video. We use Discord when we play, and Justin and I are in different rooms in the house, so we can each be on our own computer and under headphones and on the screen with our other two people. So that's how we do it logistically. And for the first number of weeks that we were playing, I was using the digital dice that they offer on D&D Beyond, where you just click on whatever it is that you're rolling for, and it rolls a digital dice for you, which is pretty nice. There's a little visual of it rolling a dice, and it makes a little dicey sound and rolls it for you and calculates, the extra things that you need to add on or subtract or whatever. And I'm still really, really just only learning the very, very basics of the logistical part, but it hasn't really stopped our play. We just work on things as we go along, and we are learning little by little. So the other cool little connection of this is, as I mentioned, we had some conversations with people at our library about D&D, and two of the staff at the library are really, really into D&D, and they were so excited when they found out that Justin and I were starting to play. So we've had some really fun conversations with both of them, and they each actually gave us some dice because Justin and I didn't have a set of dice, so they each brought in kind of like their own collection
collections of dice. I mean, I'm starting to learn that people who are really into this have a lot of dice. They each had like plastic containers, like with dividers in them, with all sorts of different dice in them.
And so they said to us, like, oh, we're going to bring you some dice. So the last time I was at the library and they were both working, they each gave me a set of dice, and they each gave Justin a set of dice. So Justin and I each have 2 sets of dice now. And they also gave us these cool, like, this is just like out of the generosity of their hearts, just because they're super nice people. It makes me feel very abundant and cared for. They gave us, I should have been tapping on this earlier because it's a nice tapping sound. I'll use this in another video. I'll use this in more videos. But this little felt rolling tray thing that you snap. I mean, if you play, you might know what this is, but that you snap these little edges together and you end up with this little tray that you can roll your dice into so that they don't roll away and they have a nice soft surface to roll into. And so I'll show you my 2 sets of dice, and it's giving me something to do with all the millions of little pouches that I have that I never want to throw away whenever I buy something or I'm given something that comes in a little pouch. So this is a set of dice that are all the same. This is like an actual set of dice. See, that's loud. That's loud. They can be loud. I should be putting them out in my little tray. So they're not loud and you can hear the nice sounds. So these are this kind of, I don't know how well you'll be able to see them, but they're purple and blue, kind of marbled, swirly dice. That one's more purple. This is the D20. It's got a nice blue and purple. And then this is I'm like the square one. The D6. And then this little guy. I mean, to the level that we've been playing so far, we've only really used the D20. The other ones we haven't really used that much yet. But these are really nice. So I don't know if you'll be able to hear this, but I'll give them all a roll there. All right, let's roll a D20 and see what we get. Are you ready? Let's see. We got, oh my gosh, I just rolled a natural 20. No way. Okay, that's a good omen for all of us, friends. I just rolled a natural 20.
All right, well, that's a good omen for me and for anyone else who is playing D&D. I just rolled a natural 20 for you. And that's basically, if you're not a D&D person, I think I'm explaining this properly. If you roll a 20 and a natural 20 means you didn't have to add anything together to get the 20. You actually got a 20 on the die. That's basically like the best that you can do. If you roll a 20, then you totally succeeded. You're just totally, whatever you're trying to do is working out the best it could possibly work out if you roll a D20. So,
wow, that's pretty cool. That's pretty exciting. So my other set of dice were, the other person had a whole bunch of dice just of all different colors and had them sorted by dice type. And so from them, I picked out like a custom set of dice. So I have this pale pink D20, which I really, really like. It's a little bit bigger than the other one. And I like the feel of it. Yeah, I could do a whole video just with the sound. I was talking a lot more and so didn't do as many of the dice sounds as I could have. So I have this pink, the pink D20, this turquoise one, which is this 12. I'll be honest, I still don't even know my dice very well yet. This little turquoise one. So I have a pink and a turquoise. And then I have this darker pink, and these are the two, okay, yeah, this is the 9, and then this is the one that has,
I'm so sorry for people who are really into D&D. I'm probably wildly butchering this, but this is the actual names of the dice. This is the 9, I guess. Is that what this is? And then this is the one that has by tens. It has like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, I guess. So if you're making you need to create a larger number. Again, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing at all. And then you're just good old D6, like a regular die with 6 sides. I have a yellow one of those. And then this green one. And then this orangey one. This orangey one. This orangey one. So they are all really fun. So I have this multicolored, I don't know how well you can see them. This would be a reason to try to set up an overhead camera so you could look down on my dice thing. But I have this multicolored set, which is really cool. And then I have yeah, this isn't going to work. I can't pick these all up at once. And then I have my purpley swirly set. Okay, I'll have to come up with a better way to show this to you, but okay, just for fun, let's roll my pretty pink D20 and see what we get this time. Let's see what we get this time. Oh, and that time we got a 2, so not doing as well that time. And so see, that's what's so fun about the whole thing, and I guess maybe that's how I will wrap up. I'll do a little bit of dice, what would you call this? Dice jingling? What verb would you call this? Dice rolling in my hand? Dice preparing to roll? I don't know. I will rub these dice in my hands, and I guess that's the thing, like I said, that is so, for me, so fun and so freeing about playing D&D is that it is truly just play. Like, especially because, you know, we're very casual about this. We're not like streaming our game or posting things about it or, you know, doing it as any kind of like content or anything like that. We're just playing for fun. It's all just for fun, just for us. And so it's really helped me to just practice making spontaneous decisions, which sounds maybe kind of silly, but as a person who has battled perfectionism my whole life, I can really get paralyzed about decision making. Like, am I making the best decision about things? And I really second guess my decisions and think, oh, did I do the right thing? Did I say the right thing? And in D&D, you're just having to make decisions all the time. And sometimes things go right and sometimes things go wrong, and you just have to roll with it. And so it's not something where I can have a lot of regret. It's not something where I can really be like, oh, I should have done that differently. Or, oh, you know, maybe if I had done this, it's like I really just have to be in the moment. Okay, I keep dropping the dice, so I'm just gonna have to only have one. Maybe I'll put them back in the bag and then I can rustle them a little more for you. This is getting out of control. This is getting wild. But what I was trying to say, I'm not sure if I already started to say it, is that it just really makes me very, very much in the moment when we're playing. We play on Tuesday nights, and we play for about 3 hours at a time. And that time, it's like I'm in another world. Like, I don't pay any attention to what time it is. I don't worry about anything in my life. I don't have any stresses. I'm just in the moment and totally in the zone and focused on what we are doing. And Garrett is such a wonderful GM. They are such a great storyteller. They have background music going, like this, you know, Lord of the Ringsy kind of soundtrack going in the background. And they're such a wonderful storyteller that I just get engrossed in the story. And I'm so focused on the other characters and their motivations and, you know, what they're trying to do. And we work together as a team really well and have all these kind of fun strategies, and we're just getting started on that. I mean, we're really just at the tip of the iceberg. So
it just gives me this opportunity. It's like a meditation. It really is. It's like a mindfulness exercise to just go into this zone where the outside world is not there anymore. And I mean, you know, the outside world is there. Like, we have to tend to the dog sometimes, and they have a child, and so, you know, sometimes they need to go tend to the child. This is why we play later in the evening when the child is already in bed. But, you know, it just gives us this opportunity to really, it gives me an opportunity to come out of myself and my typical day-to-day worries and stresses and all that sort of stuff and portray this other character and explore different parts of my personality and try different things that I might not normally try, you know, be a little more bold, a little more daring, and it's just a lot of fun. So, okay, well, my dice are kind of getting out of control. And I feel like I'm starting to get a little bit of a sore throat because I've been talking so much, so I'm going to take another sip of tea. And I have absolutely no idea how long I've been talking. I imagine it's been quite a long time. So I think I am going to wrap this up for now. I hope you enjoyed. And if you are a D&D player, please let me know in the comments. Let me know what your character is like, what class they are, what your current campaign is like. If you're curious, if you have any questions for me or about my character or about my experience as a first-time player, just, you know, let's have a little fun conversation about D&D. And if you got all the way to the end of this, then that's pretty impressive. So I actually hope you didn't. I hope that made you fall asleep. So I hope if you're at the end of this, it's, you know, on your second or third try, because I hope you fell asleep before this. But if you were so enthralled by my D&D story, I really appreciate your interest and always just the kindness that you all always show to me, and how you're always into whatever it is I want to talk to you about. That's really, really affirming to me, and I really appreciate it. So, I will see you again soon in the next video, and do let me know if you would like to hear any more about my D&D shenanigans. And in the meantime, take good care of yourself, rest well, and I will see you again soon. Good night, friends. Little bonus.